Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carolyn Everidge, and I'm the Health and Human Sciences Educator for Purdue Extension in Huntington County. And today for our Lunch and Learn, we're going to be discussing how to save time and money while eating well. Just an introduction to food budgeting and meal planning. So what and how we eat really impacts our health, it impacts our well-being, and even our finances. So today's objective is to really give you some tools, or maybe remind you of some tools that you already have that will help you plan these healthy meals without breaking the bank. So sadly, 85% of Americans don't know what they're having for dinner until just hours before they eat. This was a survey of Americans that was done that really highlights there's not a lot of planning, not a lot of prepping happening. Probably because meal planning and preparation requires some time and energy. So we tend to have less healthy, more expensive options because we just don't want to deal with it. But hopefully after today's Lunch and Learn, you'll have some tools and some tricks that help you get that planning and that preparation done to actually save you time and energy. So a lot of the people watching this are probably the primary food shopper or the primary food preparer in their household, which makes you this really, really important nutritional gatekeeper. You call the shots about what you're bringing into the home, what you're feeding your family, and of course, how that impacts your finances. But we typically downplay the importance of this role. We think of it as this never-ending chore. We hate to do it. We hate making the list for the grocery store every week, but it really has so much power because what we are buying for our meals is really going to impact our health and not only just of ourselves, but of everyone else in the household. Feeding our body these healthy foods is really important. People think that healthy foods are often more expensive or you have to do all this preparation, but it doesn't have to be that way. And besides, if you invest in your health now, you're going to end up being more cost effective in the long run. So there was this other study done through Harvard School of Public Health, where over the course of a lifetime, the per person cost for a person with obesity was around $9,000 to $17,000 higher than the cost of a person who is at a healthy, normal weight. So putting the money in and putting the effort in now is going to have these long-term impacts. So 3 things I want you to remember about nutrition throughout today's presentation is to plan ahead and plan to eat healthy ahead of time, focusing on portion control, and finally eating for your health. There is no one size fits all in eating, nutrition, and in health. Food is not the enemy. If you don't like broccoli, don't eat broccoli. There are lots of other ways you can get the nutrients that you need to have a healthy diet. So we're going to start by talking about the food budgeting portion. It's really hard to make a food budget if you don't have an overall idea of what your income is, what your expenses are. It's January. This is now a perfect time to look back at the last year, see kind of how you spent your money, figure out going forward how you want to spend your money this year. It's a perfect time to work on this. So there's a couple of steps to figuring out what you spend regularly on your food and groceries. You start by tracking it. Sometimes this includes holding those receipts. Now everything is digital, everything's technology-based. You can just pull up your app and see, oh, I spent this much money at the grocery store. But don't forget to include all those other things that are not grocery store shopping trips. Don't forget work lunches, going out to the restaurant, using vending machines, swinging into the gas station and getting a little snack. All of those things need to be included in your budget. You can use an online calculator, you can use different apps, or you can really take it old school, pen and paper, write it all down. This is just an example here of figuring out kind of a budget that this person brings home $1,500 a month. they have an 11% food expense, and they broke it down into figuring out I spend about $55 a week on food. Now, this budget for me is not very realistic. I spend a little bit more than that. And when I try to cut down, I end up being hungry, or I have to go without things that I want or need. So make the budget work for you. Maybe some months you're at home more, so your food budget looks a little bit different. If you are a teacher, perhaps, maybe you eat lunch at school during the school year, and then in the summer, your food budget is a little different. So you have to kind of go back, look at this budget regularly, and really just reevaluate it every now and then. It doesn't have to stay the same, but make sure it definitely works for you. Having a food budgeting plan is going to help you spend your food dollars more wisely. The average American who is 8 or older eats out about 4 times a week. That number actually increases when you are a young adult, so young adults under age 27 eat out constantly. So is this really the best way to spend your dollars on food, or are there other options you can try? So, COVID has given us a new perspective, given us new ideas, new possibilities for our food. So this presentation was developed pre-COVID, so some of the numbers may be a little different, but this is the meal price breakdown of using a meal kit. So you go online, you order up a meal kit, and you have it delivered to your door. Really convenient, wonderful, great, perfect. However, if you look at this chart, you're going to see the cost that it's costing you to have this convenience. It is very easy to say that convenience foods cost more than twice that of non-prepared foods. You can save money by peeling and cutting and mixing all of your meal at home. Convenience foods are really nice. They're convenient for a reason, but you end up paying for that quite a bit more than if you had just prepared it yourself. On average, it's almost 5 times more expensive to order delivery from a restaurant than it is to cook at home. And if you're using a meal service kit, like the one we just kind of talked about, it's still about 3 times more expensive than if you were to cook that food from scratch. So I'll just do the example here of the chicken soup. Chicken soup only costs $1.48 per serving to make at home, where it typically costs about $13 if you got a delivery service. This includes the fee for delivery and all of that as well. So if you figure that this is an average family of 4 people, you are actually saving $47 per meal on this chicken soup if you just made it at home rather than using the delivery service, which is a lot of money in my opinion for one meal. So going back to forgetting in COVID, back to our normal way, typically eating out for lunch is another really expensive aspect of our food dollars. So to get the most and highest quality food and the most nutritional value for your money, it's best to bring your own lunch. Americans consume 1/3 of their calories outside of the home. So when you bring your own lunch, the chances are you're going to be having a healthier lunch too. So just a quick breakdown. The average lunch and drink out is $10.50. This may be a little high or a little low depending on where you're at when you're watching this today, but the average cost of making your own food is like $3 to $4. So if you think about it, over the year, you're going to be saving $1,000 a year if you just pack your lunch, just 3 days, not even every single day. When you think about it, it's a really staggering amount of money that you could be saving. So an easy way that we can manage our food budget is to meal plan. And, sometimes people will say, I don't want a meal plan. It's too much work. I don't have the space. I don't have the time. Lots of different reasons. But meal planning can really help us save money and reduce food waste, which ultimately helps us save time and saves money because we're not wondering what's for dinner. It's already ready. We don't have to come home from a long day of work and say, oh, I'm so hungry, but I'm so tired, so let's just order out. All of these last minute dinner decisions, maybe you have to go to the grocery store less often because you know what you need to get when you go the first time, so you don't have to keep going back. Lots of different ways that meal planning can help relieve some of that stress. And you can add some variety. So people tell me all the time, I hate meal planning because I just eat the same thing over and over again. Well, when you make a plan, this is your opportunity to plan for something different, to plan for some variety, try something new, maybe see that there's this new meat on sale this week, trying these different things. So there's no right or wrong way to meal plan. The way that I meal plan probably isn't going to be the same way that you meal plan, probably isn't going to be the same way that your parents meal plan. It's all different, and that's okay. Whatever works best for you and your family is the way to go. Learning how to plan is going to, like I mentioned, help you save that money, help reduce some of that stress. But there are some things that you have to think about. Really consider your schedule. If you know that Tuesday nights are a horrible night and you don't get home till 8 o'clock at night, don't plan this meal that takes an hour to cook. Maybe your Tuesday night could be something in a slow cooker, and you could have a larger meal that takes longer on a different night. So really take your schedule into consideration. When I make my meal plan, I literally have my work calendar up while I'm looking at my meal plan to make sure I don't schedule to do something intense on a day when I'm working really hard. Write down the things that you want to eat. Just keep it simple. If you know that you really like this pasta dish and your family's gonna love it, include that in your meal plan. It's really, really important to remember what your family's needs and likes and dislikes are, because you don't want to cook a meal and have your family not eat it because they don't like it. So consider that when you're making your meal plan. Also consider snacks, consider all of the meals. A lot of times people will make their meal plan for just their dinner meals, and they won't consider the fact that, oh, I have to take my lunch and I have to make breakfast. Even if breakfast is just, fruit and cereal, you still have to make sure you have that fruit and cereal when you get ready to eat it. Also consider times when you're not going to be around. So this is kind of back to talking a little bit about your schedule. But if you're going to go on vacation for a week, or maybe you're taking a long weekend, make sure you consider that when you buy your food, so that you don't have foods just sitting there going to waste and then end up throwing it away anyway. And keep it simple. Healthy meals don't have to be complicated. Having really simple meals of healthy food is going to get you a longer way than having really complicated recipes for some healthy foods. And the last thing I want to mention is really take into account your own kitchen skills. If you are not really great at baking, is there someone else in the home that could bake? Can you delegate these skills? Can you learn these new skills? If you have kids that like to help you, are there aspects of that recipe or that meal that they can help you do? Same thing with kitchen equipment. If your recipe calls for an immersion blender and you don't have one of those, maybe consider a different recipe rather than going out and buying a tool that you may not use again. So I want you to kind of just think about what you currently do as a meal planning practice, what your family kind of likes to eat. Just kind of have all this back in the back of your mind, because we're going to take a minute here shortly and kind of do an example meal plan. So just kind of have that going in the back of your mind. So the next thing that's really, really important when planning is to take inventory of what you already have. This includes your refrigerator, this includes your freezer and your cabinets, your pantry, anywhere you have food stored. You want to look and see what you already have, because you don't want to go and buy something when you already have it. Now you have two of something and you end up throwing one of those away. So part of taking inventory also includes thinking about what you've thrown away. So if you shop on a weekly basis and you know that every week you buy 5 bananas and every week you throw 1 banana away because it's too brown, So maybe only get 4 bananas when you go to the store the next week, and you're not going to end up throwing one away. You're going to save money. I know a banana is really inexpensive. It's like 25 cents. But if you do that over and over and over again, you're just making all this waste and spending money that you don't need to because you're not eating it. Try to plan your recipes based on what's on sale or what's in season. So really figuring out all of those things. So if you go to the farmer's market in the summer, maybe consider what you're going to get from there. If you have a garden, consider what you're growing. Looking at ads and circulars to see what's on sale that week. Those are going to help you kind of make your best meals on a budget. And think about saving some for later. So think of those things that you can cook one time and eat twice. Maybe you can have vegetables as a side dish, and then you put them in the freezer in a gallon-sized Ziploc, and now you have 4 different days of vegetables that you can make into a vegetable soup because you had some left over, you didn't eat all of the vegetables. Freeze things in single-serving reusable containers because you're going to be way more likely to pull one thing out of the freezer, microwave it or cook it up and then eat it rather than having to take out a whole meal if you're not ready for a whole meal, if you just want a self-serve type meal. And making a meal plan is really honestly easier than people tend to think. Once you get used to it, it's just going to fly right by. To start out, it might take you a little longer. You're going to have to figure out what works for your routine, what you want each week, but eventually it's going to get pretty easy. So here's a not so fun fact. $600 of food is thrown away per year per person. So like I mentioned, that one banana you throw away every week contributes to that $600, which what could you do with that $600 instead? A lot of different things. So that being said, we want to try to cut down on our waste by doing a couple steps. First one is buying the correct amounts. Bananas. Or maybe making sure you don't already have something. Let's say you buy a jar of spaghetti sauce and you already had spaghetti sauce in the cabinet. Making sure you're taking that inventory, looking through all of the things you have. Date food. When you put food away in the pantry, the refrigerator, or whatever, write the date on it because you writing the date is a lot easier to see than the little tiny sell-by expiration dates, and you're going to see it when you look at it. And rotate the oldest items to the front. If you buy a can of tuna all the time, because you just eat tuna all the time, put the new can of tuna behind what you already have. It's first in, first out. It's a really common phrase for the food service industry. So using the things that are going to expire first is going to help you save on some of that money. Lastly, use those leftovers. Growing up, maybe grandma made a ham every Sunday, and then you would have ham for the whole rest of the week in some different kind of concoction every single day. So really try to use those leftovers. Now, I warned you we were going to do a little bit of practice. So we're going to take a couple minutes here and just plan out 5 nights of food for your family. We're not going to do the whole breakfast, lunch, snacks, just 5 nights of what your family is going to eat over the next week. We're going to take a minute and pause there and let you kind of work on that. All right, so now that you have your 5 meals planned out, it's now time to make your grocery list. Now, your grocery list should be based off of your meal plan, right? Because you need to know what you're going to buy at the grocery store so that you have your meals. This should also include staples that you need to restock. If you need toilet paper, include your toilet paper. Any ingredients you need to create these recipes, make sure you know what you already have, what things are on sale. It actually really helps to make the grocery list according to the store layout. So for me, when I go to the store, I always do my produce first, then my center food aisles, like the drinks, the snacks, the pasta, all of that. And then I come around back and I do dairy, meat, and frozen food. So if that's how you're going to shop, kind of like make your grocery list look that way, so you don't have something that you already bought the produce, but now you have to go back because you didn't have it in the right spot and you forgot about it. Also note on your list whether or not you're going to use a coupon, if you're doing a store sale. So a store may have buy 5, get $1 off or something like that. Make a note of that so that you remember to actually do all of that. And keep your list where it is convenient to add to it. So for example, maybe you have a running list on your phone where throughout the week, you run out of tomato sauce and you need to add it to your list. Some people keep it on the refrigerator, some people keep it in their pantry, wherever that list is convenient, keep it there so you can add it as you run out of things. And sticking to your list really helps you save money. People who shop with a list will buy less and spend less on money, or spend less money on groceries. And you want to try to only have to go to the grocery store once a week, because the more trips we make to the grocery store costs us more time, costs us more money. Not only in the fact that we have to buy more food, but the gas to get there and the time it takes, all of that. So now we're going to create a grocery list from our meals that we just made. So you made 5 meals. We're now going to write our grocery list for those 5 meals. Try to break it out in what is helpful for you. Like I said, I do produce first, so I'm going to write my produce things at the top of my list and my meat toward the bottom of the list. So we'll go ahead and take a couple minutes to do that. All right, so on your grocery list, you should have all of the ingredients it takes to make your main dishes, your sides, any drinks, any desserts for those 5 meals that we planned. Some people find it easier to list everything that is needed. So for example, if your recipe calls for 5 different food items, you would write all 5 of those down and cross off the things you already have. If you already have rice, you don't need to buy more rice. Other people will just write down what they know they need, and just whatever works best for you. Also, don't forget to include things that complement your main dish or your side, whether that's condiments, sauces, syrups, whatever it is. Don't forget it, or else you're going to have to make a second trip. So we want to try to avoid impulse buying. It's really hard because impulse buying works. So marketers and advertisers will try really hard to get us to buy things we don't really need. So we want to try to avoid impulse buying. Having a list is one of the easiest ways to avoid your impulse buying. Don't shop when you're hungry, because you're more likely to buy food when you're hungry. I tell people that I buy drinks when I'm thirsty, and I'm always thirsty when I go to the grocery store. I always buy tons of drinks when I could just not do that. Be aware of the specials and the coupons that offer or encourage you to buy impulsively. For example, there's these really great deals where if you buy 10 items, you save money. Well, if you weren't going to buy those 10 items, you're just buying extra items to save the $1 that you just spent buying an item you weren't going to buy. Now, if you're going to buy those things, okay, or maybe you can stock up on some of those things, that's fine. But just be aware that some of those really great deals might be tricking you into buying things you don't need. If you are tight on a budget, you are going to get the most food for your dollar and for your family by buying nutrient-dense foods. These are things that would be healthy, right? Not things that are calorie dense, like candies and cookies and cakes, because they can take a huge chunk of money out of your food budget and leave you with no calories, basically, and still hungry for dinner and wanting more food. So this here is just an example of if you were to buy 1 soda a week at $1.25, you end up spending $455. These are just some examples of those things that are not often on our grocery list that we end up paying for. So now that you have your meal all planned out, you made your list, it's now time to go to the store. There are a couple tricks to shopping smart at the grocery store. The first one is to stay on the perimeter. So most of the time, your grocery store is set up with your nutrient dense foods on the perimeter of the store. Your produce, your dairy, your meat, all of that are typically on the outside of the store. So this is really, really important to try to stick to the outside. If you don't need to go down the aisle with all the candy and the cookies and the tasty treats, don't go down that aisle. Go to the next aisle that you need to go down. Avoid the aisles that you don't have something on your list. There are going to be healthy food items that are in the center store aisles, the part that I've just told you to avoid. At the store I shop in, my bread is in the same aisle as the cookies. It's really horrible. So I only go down the first part of the aisle and I turn around and go to the next aisle. I just completely avoid that section I don't need. And stick to your list. If it's not on your list to buy a box of Oreos, don't buy a box of Oreos. And if it is possible, limit the number of people you bring to the store with you. I know this isn't always possible. I know people have kids. I know people have responsibilities. They need to bring people with them. But having more people there means more chances for impulse buying, more people who could be hungry, more distractions, possibly going to forget something and have to go back again. So try to kind of limit that number of people if you can. From a food safety perspective, it's really important to get the things from the freezer or the refrigerated section of the store toward the end of your shopping trip, because you don't want to have them sitting at room temperature for an extended period of time. So like I said, I have to come all the way back to the same part of the store to get my meat at the end of the grocery trip, but I don't want to have my meat sit in the cart for an hour while I'm doing all the rest of my shopping. So try to get those things last if you can. Now, you may be wondering, is it really that important for me to stick to the perimeter, try not to miss anything so I don't have to go back? And my answer to you is yes, because for every minute you're in the store, you spend $2.17. So I typically spend an hour when I'm in the store. I typically spend $200. So you want to be really careful to get what you need, get out, don't buy those extra things, don't spend that extra time. All those times if you get something on one side of the store and then you make your way to the other, and then you come back and you see all those things on the impulse areas that you didn't see the first time and now you want to buy them, it's just ways to kind of trick you into spending some more money. So try to spend as little time as possible as you can. So now I'm going to go through 10 ways to shop smart. I'm going to break down a couple things for each of these different 10 ideas, and hopefully they'll give you some tips for you to try in the future. So the first one is really considering canned, frozen, or fresh produce. All of them are great. You know, you want to make sure if you're getting canned, you're getting things with low sodium, or if you're getting frozen, you're not going to get the ones with the added sauce or the butter or the cheese, just the regular green beans. This is going to save you prep time because they're typically already cut up. They're ready to go. You can pop them in the microwave. And they're usually on sale, or they're just cheaper than your fresh produce. They also add really nutritious ingredients to these meals really easily. You can throw some beans in things. You can throw things in a slow cooker. Lots of options to add some healthy nutrition options. Lastly, canned and frozen options have a longer shelf life. So if you want peaches and it's not peaches in season right now, you probably can't go to the grocery store and get some peaches in the produce aisle. If you get canned or frozen, they're going to last longer and you're less likely to throw them away. But always remember to only buy what you can reasonably store and use. Just because canned vegetables are on sale for 50 cans for $25, do you have room to put those 50 cans? Are you going to eat those 50 cans before they expire? Things to consider. A lot of times, Meat is the most expensive thing on the grocery store. So buying those family-sized value packs of meat can really help lower the cost. You can freeze what you're not going to use that week, especially if you're buying things on sale. So recently it was buy one, get one roast, and you could get both roasts, throw one in the freezer, cook one for this week. Still consider getting lean meats. So options are 90-10. Protein with 80-20 is going to have more fat in them, and that will look like it's cheaper. So for example, your hamburger that's 80-10 is less per pound, but the more that you cook it down, you're just cooking down all the fat, and you're really left with less of the meat for more of the money. So consider those less popular lean options. The less popular cuts of meat typically are cheaper options. You can also stretch your protein source by getting more bang for your buck by not making it the main part of your meal. Having soups or casseroles, or even going meatless for one meal is going to spread out how much your protein is going to cost. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Remember that convenience costs. When you buy pre-chopped fruit or vegetables or those microwavable rice packets, all of those things, great, convenient, but it's going to cost you more. A large bag of brown rice costs $1.77. You can make it really easily in a rice cooker. You can make it on the stovetop. You can make it in an Instapot. Minute-ready microwavable brown rice cups, for 4 ounces of them, cost $2.19. So you are paying a lot of money to save time in the kitchen. Drink water. This is probably my favorite of the 10 ways to shop smart. If you drink water instead of soda, instead of sugary drinks, sports drinks, energy drinks, tap water is easy on the wallet, 0 calories. If you're worried about the flavor or the quality of your water, investing in a water filter is going to be more efficient and cost effective than buying bottled water. Keep in mind that the store brand is usually cheaper and has the same quality as the name brand. So I'm going to give you a couple tactics to help you decide over the next couple of slides. But the last 5 of the top 10 ways to shop smart are more in detail, so I'm going to go over those individually. So the first one was categorical sales. There are 15 categories of items grocery stores carry that cycle on sale about once every 12 weeks. Usually ads, I'll use your ads to find sales on cereal, frozen food, bread. Look for those trends. Use coupons and to get an even deeper discount. When an item you use regularly goes on sale, stock up if your budget allows you. Maximize those savings by getting the things that you need on those categorical sales with a coupon. Just combine everything together, you're going to save a lot of money. There's also what are called sale ads, which these are usually, on this ad, it's talking about, oh, what a deal. You want to make sure that you're buying these things regularly when they're on sale. So these would be your staple items. Maybe you buy your hamburger or your bread or your pasta, other staples that are on sale. This is the best time to get them. But beware that sometimes advertised sales aren't really a good bargain after all. We talked about that a little bit earlier. The next one is unit pricing. So the purpose of unit pricing is to provide customers with a way to compare costs, specifically between different sizes, brands, or other kinds of varieties of the same product. The unit price tells you the price per unit. This can help you decide if the generic brand or a larger size is really a better deal. Generally speaking, the larger size is the better deal. As you can see here, we've got the larger size that shows us the price per unit is 3.86, where the smaller size, the price per unit is 5.40. So this same concept applies to name brand items. Typically, name or store brand items, store brand, generic brand, are 20 to 50% cheaper than the name brand items and often have no difference in taste or quality. So even though the retail price, the actual price that you pay, may be higher, the unit price reflects how much you're paying per ounce per store. So, you know, this large container of yogurt is more expensive for the whole yogurt than the little one. But if you took the same amount of yogurt for the little one to equal the large one, you're going to spend more money. Some stores don't do this. Last I checked, the 3 main grocery stores in Huntington do have this pricing available. So kind of consider that as well. But remember that larger isn't always better. If you're not going to eat that entire container of yogurt before it goes bad, you're just throwing money away. So sometimes you might have to spend more money per unit for you to actually save the money so that you're not wasting the food. Specially marketed packaging. So this is typically when offers are printed right on the box. You know, it says 25% more, or there's $1 off on the package, or maybe there's a coupon stuck to the package. Lots of different varieties. That's another way to save some money as well. Couponing. So we could talk about couponing all day, but we're just going to talk about it for a couple minutes. Couponing can save a lot of money. I'm not going to teach you how to make a coupon. I'm not going to tell you to have a big binder of coupons. Just use what is helpful for you and what works for you and your family. Coupons save so much money off your grocery bill, typically around $1,000 in savings each year. Coupon use is actually up 23% since 2008, which I think is kind of interesting. And most coupons last for about 3 months. There's always exceptions to that, so just make sure you're paying attention to the expiration date. Again, don't buy what you don't need or you won't use. If you have a coupon for this name brand toothpaste that you would be fine using the store brand toothpaste, don't use the coupon. It's not going to save you any money that way. And there are a lot of different ways to access coupons now. Certain stores have them on their apps. You can download them from online. You can still cut them out of the Sunday paper. A lot of different options for you to consider. Also, make sure if your store has a loyalty card or free rewards card, that you're using that. There is a store in Huntington that has a loyalty card where the price that you see on the shelf for the food products is if you use your rewards card or your loyalty card. If you don't use your loyalty card, you automatically spend more money than what's advertised. It's a little bit more expensive. So consider that when you're making your meal plan. Make sure you have those free options, etc. Last one, number 10, is loss leader products. So these are when products are priced at or below the wholesale price. Really lures in customers. There's usually a limit. So for an example, a grocery store recently had a 3-pound bag of apples for 99 cents. That's 33 cents per pound. That's amazing. The flyer was only in the one printing of the paper. And so there's going to be these opportunities that you can take advantage of. They don't last very long. So this isn't a super easy one you can do regularly, but pay attention. Also, make sure you're considering food safety when doing this. If you're getting some discounted produce, make sure that it's safe to eat. Same thing with dented cans. Consider food safety and all of that. So now we've planned, it's time to prep. You want to make sure it works best for your family, however you do this. Some people prep their whole day on Sunday. Other people will prep half a week. Lots of different varieties of ways for prepping. Remember food safety. This is so, so important. Organize your kitchen in a way that's safe. Clean produce, not chicken. Separate your raw meat and your raw produce. Cook to the correct internal temperature and chill within 2 hours of being at room temperature. So you want to make sure you're doing all of these things, the whole process from planning to prepping to cooking to storing. We want to make sure we're being food safe throughout the whole time. But wait, don't waste. So just because you had a whole bunch of food and you're running out of time to keep it food safe, freeze your leftovers. Freeze meals as a way to meal prep. Maybe you put all of your things for one meal in one bag and you just pull out the bag, you throw it in the slow cooker and you're ready to go. So consider that when you're prepping, making sure you're following all of those food safety tips as well. Don't leave things on the counter to thaw, which if you're trying to thaw meat, you need to thaw at a refrigerated temperature. Be safe so that you're able to continue to cook and plan for your family. So just a quick reminder, I'm gonna help you just kind of sum everything up real quick. Make the time. It takes me less than 10 minutes to meal plan, and I meal plan once a month. So this is something that's not going to be too dramatic to institute in your life. Start small. Don't try to do a whole month at once if you've never done that before. Start small. Focus on the things that are helpful for you and your family. Pay attention at the store. See how long you're spending in the store. See if you can try doing that perimeter shopping. Try to have a list to stay on track. And stock your kitchen. Have those staples, have leftovers, have different options for you when you're making your meal plan. So this is the evaluation for today's program. So if you wouldn't mind taking this survey, and I will put the link in the chat box here in just a moment. And I wanted to stop here and just touch on some of these different resources. Eat, Gather, Go, What's Cooking, Stretching Your Food Dollar. These are all really, really great resources for you to consider. And I hope that this was a helpful conversation to you. If you are interested in handouts, specific resources, additional information, feel free to send me an email or contact me at the Extension office, and I'm happy to provide that information. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn.